Hi, my name is Dr. Shikdar, and we're going to talk about the programming language we have. So this is like a first introductory video for especially for focusing on C# programming. But before we get into that specific programming language, let me talk about a little bit of the background of the programming language itself. So this um, introduction to C# video is for people with no background in programming language at all, or yes, should be able to handle this, and no prerequisite or any course taken before, but they have reasonably good command with the computers, like how to use the internet and how to use the word processor, that kind of stuff. So programming language is actually very similar to human language. So the purpose of the human language is to communicate with other human, of course, and similarly, the programming language is to communicate with the computers, like the hardware itself, or operating system, or other softwares. So it's a communication media, you can say, or language. So and the programming language also have like similar properties as the human language. Like human language, we have the syntax, we have semantics, we have a grammar, and we have to follow a particular thing. And also, every language has something special and something a special way to do things. So, programming language has many types. It depends what kind of application you are um, planning to develop, and depending on that, you choose your programming language. So a programming language is more scientific computing needed, then you choose probably Python or maybe Perl or maybe PSP even, and some people use R. So there are a lot of options to do that. But for business application, I think Windows-based, especially programming language, and C# is the best one to choose, I think, at this point. Of course, some other languages are very popular. So once we master one language, then easily you can learn other languages as well. So it's not a big deal once you have your one language skills. Okay, so let's talk about this C# itself. So C# is object-oriented language, and it is actually created by Microsoft. So um, before they have Visual Basic programming language, and that was popular as well. So and now the C# is more kind of combine of object-oriented properties and also kind of C-like C++ like environment as well, so you can do a lot of stuff. But the good thing is it has the visual interface GUI-based application, so that in in C Sharp you can actually write two types of application. One is the command line interface using console, and another one is the GUI-based, the graphical user interface based application, basically form-based application. And for business application, form-based application is good because you can easily design your application very quickly, and it's probably simple. You can have simple user interface, so the people with not much skill with computers, they should be able to learn your software and learn how to use it very easily. So that's the goal. So now, what is C# programming? C# is a programming language, object-oriented programming language. So, and and then you need a particular software called Visual Studio. So Visual Studio contains C#, the .NET platform. We call it .NET Framework. So why .NET Framework? So framework is needed to make your program portable. So you can use other operating system to run this your application. So it shouldn't be any problem to running in different operating system environment. So that's the .NET Framework does. And Visual Studio contain that, the .NET Framework and also C# compiler. So Um, so the Visual Studio is only not only have C# compiler, but they have other languages like F# and Visual Basic and ASP.NET, so on. Okay, so the Visual Studio is an IDE. They call it Integrated Development Environment, and it contains many programming language. Let's look through it quickly. So the .NET framework has like so it contains a lot of library tools, libraries, you can programs that actually help you make this program portable. So now the C# programming has a of three label of the three layer of coding style. So it has a namespace, so name of your program. That's the largest container you can say or box, and then within that you have a class. It so all the classes within that namespace, and then you have methods and data in the class under the classes. So it's like three layer. Method is a smaller layer, and then higher level is class, and then largest layer is namespace. So it's three layers to organize the program code. Now, every programming language they have variables. So variables is a space in the memory. So you're telling the computer that I I want to use this variable as a kind of a box or container, you can call it, to hold your data. And you're telling the computer that I want this size of box. So the integer, double, float, decimal, there are different types of variables, and they can hold different size of numbers or information in length. Okay, so let's look at the naming convention. So the name of the variable can be anything you want, but is wise to use a meaningful name. So meaningful name related to your application. So it's better to have meaningful name, and there are different naming convention. And I mean, is there in the industry? Camel case, Pascal case, and Hungarian notation. So the camel case is you can see that like the first word will be a lowercase, and then the next word starts with uppercase. And the Pascal case is both the first and second word use the first letter uppercase. And Hungarian notation, you can see that the first beat is lowercase, and then it's kind of Pascal case. So whichever the convention you use for naming, better to follow the same convention consistently. Don't switch from one to another. It will make the developer's life harder. The developer who is going to check your code in the future or working on this application in the future, they'll be uncomfortable and kind of lost if you don't follow the convention. So it's good to follow the convention. That's the takeaway. And there are primitive data types in types of variable in C# and .NET. So the C# is byte, and in .NET also called byte. Byte holds only one byte. One byte is 8 bit, so it can have only 8 bits of information. And the short is 2 bytes, so it's like 16-bit information you can hold for that particular variable if you declare integer short. And integer is two type. Integer is like 4 bytes, so you can have like 32-bit of information. And long 8 bytes, so it has 64-bit information. And float is a single float in a C sharp, and it can hold 4 bytes of information. Double is kind of default data type for C sharp. It can hold 4 bytes of information, 8 bytes of information per double. And decimal 16 bytes, and char is 2 bytes, and the boolean is 1 byte, or true or false. So we'll see that in practical example how this can be used. Now, and then there are other data type as well, string. array, enum, class, and so we will talk about that as the we go through the video series one by one, step by step. Okay, so now there are things happen sometimes overflow. Overflow is if you declare a variable like, for example, a byte, and byte can only have 8 bits of number. But if your variable you try to put larger number than 8 bits, then overflow occurs. So overflow may occur. So that's the concept of overflow. Like whatever size your variable you declared, but you're trying to put more larger information there, and that's when the overflow occurred. So how to deal with that? You can use this checked and put a curly bracket and put this, and this will check your overflow. So we will see that in practical example, and it will be clear to you. So there's another definition of scope. Scope is the limit. Okay, the limit, or you can say boundary of something. So if you have a if you have a three layer of function or method, and then you declare variable in each method. So if you have a local method, you declare variable into the C4 in here, but you cannot call it or use it from the other method out of that method scope. So this is the scope, like the boundary of that scope. Okay, we'll learn about that in details and when we go to the Visual Studio and start writing code eventually. So every programming language, they have a certain way to write comments. Comment is nothing but it doesn't the compiler doesn't read that comment and doesn't do anything, but it's just for informational for the developer who is reading this code, the code, and um, and then try to understand like what this particular method or class doing. So the purpose of the method or class, you explain it briefly in a comment section, what that particular code does. So you can use double slash for line comments. Like one, if your comment is online, you can use double slash. And if your comment is multi-line, then use slash star and then put your lines and then end with star slash. So this will not get read by the compiler, but it will be saved in your code. So in the future, when people want to read your code or do modification or any addition, then or any problem, then they can read these comments and easily understand what the code is supposed to do. So that's important. So now let's start open up Visual Studio and create a new project. So I just installed the Visual Studio community version for 2019, and you can just create and install it for free. This is community version, and you'll see this when you choose the installation. You should choose the Windows Form app, Windows Form and .NET, whatever the file requires. You most of them you should select, even though you may not use all of them. So now let's open and create a new um, project. So when you open a new project, you see this kind of window. So Windows Form App .NET Framework, that's what we want. And we want Windows Form App. So um, we're not working with the console app, so we want to use Windows Form App. So let's create one. So let's go to next, and then you'll see Form App. You can change the name. You can have any name you want. Let's say Form App 1. So that's your name of the namespace. And push create. Then you can see the location. You can specify the location from here, whatever directory you want to save your file. But by default, it will be like this: your username and source and repos in your hard drive. It depends where you install your software, Visual Studio. All right, so the form is coming. So we can extend this here. So this form, this Windows actually, this project, new project, you can see the name of the project is Form App 1. So Form App 1 is the name of our project. That's the actually namespace. Okay, then under that you have a solution explorer is the window, and also you have the properties window. So properties windows and solution explorer. The solution explorer has um, many things. Like here you can see that you have form, and then you have C# program.cs. So you can see the code, this code automatically created by the .NET. So using system, collection, generic, link, tasks, Windows form, and then our namespace. It's already created automatically. We don't have to do anything with that. But if we look at the form, this should be empty now in a designer, but we'll go back to that and do things with the form. And the Solution Explorer, when you put a control, a properties window, so we can actually set the properties of that particular control using this panel. Okay, and let's go back to the designer. So this is the form we want to work with, and there's another window. Is we need a toolbox to use the tool. So this is the toolbox appeared on the left side. So there are sorry, a lot of controls here. So we work with the controls. This button, checkbox, combo box, date time, picker, label, text box, list box. There's a lot of control is already there. So you can just drag and drop it in the form and use it, whatever form, whatever control you need for your particular application you're building. So let's say we want to build an application, very simple one, um, to do to get name like first name and last name from the user and display it in another text box. So as a full name. So first name, last name as a separate name from the user, and then we put it together and we display it to the user like show the full name. So it's the full name. So let's start. But it's a simple program, just getting first name and last name from the user and display it on the form as a full name together. So let's do it. So to do that, we need some labels, maybe 3 of them. Here one, and you can actually copy this, Control C, and you can say Control V, Control V. So you can have three labels. So you don't have to go and drag 3 times from there. You can just copy it and paste it. So now you can change, you can set the name of this property from the property windows. Like I don't want to see the label 1 name. I want to see something else. So let's say I want to write enter your first name. First name. So that I want on the level 1 and level 2, I want enter your last name. So enter your last name. Right. And here we're going to say show full name. Show full name for the third label. Show full name. Full name. Okay. So we got this 3 label, and now we need a text box to get the input from the user. So we need also kind of 3 text box. So we copy Control C, Control V. This text box 2, and then Control V again. see, Control V again. So that's text box 3. We need that. So now we got our text box sorted in order to, so getting input the first name from here, last name from here, and then we show the full name here. But now we need a couple of buttons. So the C# is, especially the GUI-based application, form-based application, um, it 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 is called event-driven. Like if you have some event and something will happen, so you have a button, you click it, and something will happen. So event-driven programming language. So we need some button to click and do something with it. So let's say we have a button. So let's say we put the name show full name, or show name, show full name, and then we need another button. Let's see, to clear the screen, and I need another button to change the name. So this will be, so let's say, the full name, and this button will use it for clearing the text boxes. We put a name make clear, and then this button will use for exit. So to exit the program or exit the form, we use this button. So now we write some code. So how do you write code? How do you see the code window? If you double click this button, it will show up a code window. So here's the code window. You can write code here. First, of course, the easiest one is closing a form. So what you can do when you put dot, it will give you more options. You can highlight the option, and you can hit tab, that will put you there. So you don't have to type everything from scratch. So now if you look at this, as I said, like the C# program has a 3-layer. So the first layer is the namespace, that's the name of the form. And then you have the class, and then you have this method. So this public method is a global method, you can use it from anywhere. And then you have private method, private void method. Void means not returning anything. So this is the button, exit button. So this will work for the exit button. Now you go back to the designer, and then we write the code. So we need to get the first name and last name from the text box 1 and text box 2 and put it on text box 3. So let's put text box 3 enter dot text like that equals, we need text box 1, the data from text box 1 dot text plus text box 2, data from text box 2, that's what we need, text semicolon. So what this will do, it will get the data from text box 1, text box 1, the first name, and then text box 2, this last name, and then put it together and display it on the text box 3. So what I mean by that, we go back here. So if we type a first name and last name, so, and when you click the button, it will put these two names together and display it here. So this is the text box 3. All right. And then if we run it, let's run it and see how it works. You run the program. Still working. So it's build a starter and project from app configuration, debug. Then we can see the POM app1 exe is creating. And now, yeah, so the problem is here. So now, if you type a first name, let's say John Green, and then hit this button, so it's showing up John Green together. But now we have a problem here because the John Green, it doesn't have a space between the first name and last name, so it doesn't look good. So to make it good, we need to do some work there. So let's go back. We hit the exit, it'll close the form, and then we can go back to the code. Here it is. So there is no space. So to have a space, you need to put this double quote, a space, double quote, another plus. So this will give you a space. And when you put these two things together in programming language, it says concatenation, meaning adding up two things together. So data from text box one, we are putting together with the data from text box 2, so we have to use a plus sign, and that plus sign is not just addition, it's actually concatenation. You'll see the difference when you deal with the numbers. Instead of text, the name, if you type numbers, then we'll see the differences. It is not really a number, it's a string, then we have to use this plus sign to put it together, concatenation, okay? So this will give you the space, and another thing we need to do, let's go back and run it and see if we get this space or not. All right, so John, you can tab it to the next green, tab it to the next button, but you don't do this, we do this. Show full name, yeah, wow. Now you can see that John and Green, there's two first name and last name, there is a space between it because they put a double quote and they put a 2 plus sign to add them together, to concatenate together. Okay, and now if I want to type another name, I can't because this is already occupied this text box. So we can use this clear button to clear this text box, and then we can type it another name. So you may have to use this form to get the data from user and put it in your database. So you need many names. So to do that, of course, you need to make it clear and the next user, next, like that. So let's go back to the code and work on the clear button that I put it. So let's double click it, and then it will create another private void method. And what you need to do is pretty simple. Text box one dot text equal double quote and nothing in it, no space between. Right. Other text box two dot text put double quote, nothing in it, semicolon, and then text box 3 dot text equal nothing in it. So this will give. So when you click that clear button, this will clear the text boxes, and you can type a new name again, and you can display it again. So let's run it again and see how it works. All right. So put John Green. Show full name. It's there. Now hit the clear button to clear the screen. So you can put another name. Maybe Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders. Show the full name is there. Clear. So like that, you can have many names. And of course, we'll learn in the future videos that how to actually create a file and put this information in a file. Let's exit the program. So this is a simple application you can create. And I think we will stop here for today. Hope you're able to learn how to design a very simple application using this C# graphical user interface based form. Okay. Stop it. Yes.